According to TV tropes, a Cousin Oliver is that inexplicable kid added to the show's roster, usually in an attempt to liven up an aging cast with a character the younger demographics can supposedly relate to. It's usually an attempt to stop a show's audience to keep going downhill. Therefore, the inclusion of such a character is often a clear indicator that the work in question is past its prime. Godzilla, of all places, had a Cousin Oliver, in the form of Manila, the titular son of Godzilla. The creation of the character was explicitly stated to be an attempt to appeal to a younger audience, more specifically young couples in days, because they honestly thought this abomination of nature looked cute enough to make young women like him. And maybe they were right, because Manila is actually a pretty popular character in its home country, unlike in the rest of the world where he is despised by pretty much everyone, and not without reason. The movie kicks off when a weather research station in a Pacific island is visited by Goro. No, I wish. This Goro is a reporter that, in his own words, had a hunch about a story taking place in these parts, and decided to investigate. The research team let him stay as a cook, despite the fact that the project in which they are working is classified.
So I couldn't tell you, even if I wanted to. But it is pretty cool.
They tell him anyway though. Turns out they are trying to control the weather in order to solve humanity's upcoming overpopulation problems by turning into fertile places Earth's wastelands.
シベリアのツンドラ、アフリカの大砂漠、南米のジャングル地帯。もちろん現在のままでは不毛の土地だ。
Do you even know what a jungle looks like? However, their experiment goes terribly wrong, and they accidentally unleash a radioactive storm over the island that gets them trapped inside their base for over 4 days, as described by a completely out-of-place narration.
夜に入って熱帯雷雲が発生、落雷を伴った熱い大豪雨が島を洗う。
Yeah, I can see that. This narration never returns, which just makes the scene odder. Anyway, after the heat wave disappears and the research team can finally step outside, Goro discovers giant mantises roaming the island, the Kamacuras, or as they are named in the American version, the Gigantes.
カマキラス？
カマキリの化け物ですよ。昨べマキ君が命名したんです。
なるほど。さすがジャーナリスト、面白いこと考えるもんだ。
Impressive. The monsters managed to dig a giant egg that was hidden under the ground, attacking it until it finally breaks, or hatches, depending on how you look at it, giving birth to— oh my god, what in the world is that? Somebody please kill it before it starts moving. Oh shit, it's too late!
どうしたんだ？島を引き上げるって聞かないんです。バカなまね、よせ！うえ！
This guy is the best character of the movie, if only by the virtue of having some transformation during the plot. Furukawa starts pretty unhappy with how slowly their project is moving, as he is eager to get the hell out of that godforsaken place. His frustration eventually turns into cabin fever, which is unlikely, yes, but at least it's something. It never goes anywhere, but the couple scenes in which he snaps, despite not affecting the plot in any way, are much more interesting to watch than the rest of the story. Oh, come on! Did you really have to make Godzilla ugly too? This is probably the worst redesign of the character in the franchise history. The head looks weird, with eyes that are way too big, the neck is too long and the fins are not prominent enough. All of this in an attempt to make him look more like that little ogre. Oh, I'm sorry, that's an offense. 2 ogres! Godzilla comes to the aid of his son? Because where did this kid come from? Where is Mrs. Godzilla? Is Goji Mrs. Godzilla? Anyway, Goji gets out of the water and steps in the research station on his way to fight the Kamacuras. This fight is both really good and really bad at the same time. I say it's good because it's very coherent, with Godzilla even using his atomic breath way more often than it probably did in the last 3 or 4 movies combined. But at the same time, it looks cheap. The production values of this are mesmerizingly low. there are only 2 suits in this scene, and both of them look ugly. The other 3 monsters are string puppets that completely lack the usual weight and personality of the franchise's creature, not to mention that their design is very poor. I mean, they are literally just giant mantises, without anything noticeable about them. Not to mention that the set itself is very boring. And I'm not sure if this is or isn't related, but in a specific part of the fight you can even see a spot in the background where there is no background, leading to a nice view of the studio behind. You see, back at the time, Toho's A crew, i.e. Ishiro Honda and the others, were too busy filming King Kong's caves, meaning that Son of Godzilla had to be made by the studio's B crew, which explains the drop in quality in several areas, but most noticeably in the special effects department. Godzilla manages to kill 2 of the creatures that were pestering his son, and then proceeds into being a horrible, negligent father. Dude, why did you even come back then? While the fighting was happening, Goro ran away just to accidentally stumble into a cave inhabited by Saiko, a woman who had been living on the island by herself since her father, a Japanese archaeologist, died years before. This discovery comes with a terrific timing since the research base had been destroyed and the teen needs a place to stay. Then there's a sequence in which the scientists fall ill and Saiko and Goro must get medicine for them at the other side of the island. Nothing happens during this time except that they watch as Godzilla tries to teach Junior about the art of atomic breathing, but the rest of it is pointless, so I'm skipping it. I understand that a few people might not think Manila is that useless. After all, this movie is not exactly a shining example of narrative and no one does much in it. And I know beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, so there are some who might think he's actually cute instead of horrendous. But there is one thing that is not subject to personal taste, and that is his sound. Every single noise that comes out of this thing is a pain to the ears. The sound design of this movie in general is very weak, but Manila is just plain awful to listen to. Anyway, let's see what happens now. Oh, Saiko is attacked by the last of the Kamakuras, and Manila tries to save her, but he's absolutely incompetent and his father needs to come to his rescue. Rocks in these movies have a weird physics. During the fight, however, they accidentally wake another monster, Kumonga, or as they call it in the American dub, Spiga, because it's a black spider. With a massive 3-way happening outside, the research team decides that it is time to leave the island and use the radio to call for help, but there is no way they will ever escape while the battle is raging on, so they must use the weather control device to freeze the place, thus giving them a chance to flee. It ends up being pointless anyway. Kumonga paralyzes Kamakura with its web and then turns his attention to the father-son duel. The spider almost defeats Godzilla using a combination of the webs and its sting, but at the last minute Manila manages to use his atomic breath for the first time, because of course he does, giving his daddy a chance to get back on his feet. As the temperature starts to drop, the humans head to the beach and get on a raft, while Godzilla and Manila finish the monstrous spider like father and son. So yeah, they could have just waited for Goji to kill Kumonga and the human's path would be free for them to escape. The island freezes around the 2 monsters, who in the end must hug each other to protect from the cold. And so they enter hibernation, while our heroes, who are watching from a distance, get rescued by a submarine.
You know what else?
What?
Son of Godzilla.
Sucked big time.
Manila is a terrible character, the plot never goes anywhere, the special effects are laughably weak, and the sound design keeps waving between bland and just plain bad. This movie is the first in a long series of subpar flicks that would pretty much run the entire franchise to the ground by doing the same mistakes over and over again until the series was unsalvageable. And I keep repeating this because I honestly can't wait to get this over with. Okay, what's next?